Hello, this is Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. I have a junk journal to share with you today. This is a sewing themed junk journal and this is for Katina or Katina or Kat. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I think it's beautiful. I'm just not sure where the emphasis is. So anyway, if you saw my last video about So Much Happy, all about Happy Mail, you would have seen the amazing box that she sent me. And this is a journal she ordered and I can't wait to flip through and show it to you. I used so many different things in this journal, so definitely I am going to be, let me just see if I can adjust this. There we go. I'm going to be naming all those and trying to put all the links. Okay, so this time I did a sewing themed journal before where it was covered in fabric and it was more burgundies and extreme vintage. This one is a little lighter. It's a cardstock cover, but it is this really cute paper. This is from a paper pad I picked up at Tuesday morning called Close Knit, but this is like all like a pattern. It looks like a whole bunch of patterns all collaged together. And then I kind of picked up on some of the greens and blues. It still has a lot of vintage elements, but it's a little brighter and cheerier. So here we go. It's a 9x6. I did kind of a machine cross stitch down this side, and then there's a piece of fabric here. This was actually like a repurposed, I think it's a placemat. It was thrifted and I already covered a journal with it, and I've been sharing little bits and pieces in my junk journal supply bags, and I'm going to try to zoom in. Having trouble with the lighting today. I think it's a little bit overcast, but we're gonna do the best we can here. Okay, and then I used my Stitch in Time ephemera pack, and I have so many images. There's like 45 images in that pack, so I did not even use close to all of them, but here's one. I stitched that there, and there's a little wooden button that's an iron that's right there. So let's get right into all of this goodness. I tried to just do a whole bunch of beautiful things out of a couple nature elements as well. So this is a vintage advertisement print, JP Coates Best 6-cord thread for hand and machine. This is in my ephemera pack. I'll have that linked below as well. And then this is just from a book on, I think it's on perennials, or no, bulbs. I think. This is Lily's. I backed it with some vintage gingham fabric. This was thrifted as well. They were some children's curtains that I purchased from Goodwill. And so I just did a little stitching there, made this journal card. I think this would look really great with a picture on the back, but if you wanted to write on it, you could just glue down a piece of paper, but I think this would mat a picture very, very nicely. So there we go. This cover is a little thicker than some of them because it is actually 2 pieces of cardstock back to back. They're from the same paper pad sewn together. I really was excited to use one of these pages. I hoard them and use them carefully, but this is from a book that I bought on 1950s fabrics. And so I used one of those pages. And then there's a little beaded heart dangling there. And then I used some of my sewing themed words. You can also get that in my shop. And this one says Taylor. And then here's another one of my pieces of ephemera used as a corner spot. And then I made like a pouch and I added 2 more pieces of my ephemera in there. And then here is a paper ribbon and a button. Another paper ribbon and a button. And then this is from that words and phrases. This is my happy place. That'll be linked down below as well. And then I just used some letter stickers. I love to sew. I put a little wooden scissors on here. And then here's a little die cut from that close knit paper pack. I added this vintage little girl. I thought she was really cute. And then it says measure twice, cut once. And then here's a little bit of fabric. This is a part of one of the tape measures that Kat actually sent to me. So I wanted to use a little bit of that. And there's a flower. And then here's a little bit of that same fabric that was used on the front. Another piece of ephemera. There's coffee dyed paper. There's a Tim Holtz butterfly stitched there. This is from a 1960s sewing book. It's like a binder. and I liked how it says cutting and cutting the dress and all about that. So instead of making it a page or cutting it down, I slipped it in here kind of like a bookmark, but it makes this really nice yellow border, and you can see it sticking out. So you can remove that if you want, or cut it up or leave it in there, move it around. Like, this is great if you're journaling. You can just move it to wherever you are and you can easily open it right up. So that's in there. And then I just printed like a vintage ad, Puritan dressmakers pins. Here's a little tag that was in the cut aparts. And I just added one of my words, stitch, and a little bit of, this is a vintage pillowcase there. And then this is that really, really pretty from that close knit paper pack, but you can't really write on it. So I added a little bit of coffee dyed paper. And then one of the phrases, seam allowance. I have a little piece of ephemera there. This is a print from like a fabric sample book from France, from, I want to say it's the 1700s. So this is a scan of some fabric that's really, really old. And then I made a fabric ruffle, and there's a little tape measure button that's stitched on there. And more of that, more French fabric there, or it's a scan of one. And then here's one of my pieces of ephemera. This is from the same book as this. This is Seams and Hems. I just added a little vintage pillowcase fabric tab. And then this is from the cut aparts. Just added a little bit of sewn on lace there from my pack. And then this piece of lace is not sewn in, it's just clipped in. You can move it anywhere you want. And then there's a paper ribbon. And then I have this silly little thing going with myself. Every time somebody orders a sewing journal, I go on Etsy and I spread the love. And what I mean by that is I purchase a digital sewing item. And it just kind of is building my digital sewing. So I made these journal cards because I purchased these watercolor sewing clip art. If you see the little pin cushion, the button, the needle and thread, the pins, those were all from the kit. The rest I had in my digital stash. And I made these journal cards, and these are, there's 2 more and you'll see them throughout the book. So it's a set of 4. These are available as freebies on my Facebook page. So Nevermore Creations, Junk Journals, and Friends. I just listed them this morning, July 23rd. And so they're up there. You can take them, use them however you like. I just like to share and give back sometimes. So added that right in there. And I'm going to stop and make a little note about this. Another way that I want to give back to the community today and tomorrow is anybody who wants a sewing themed journal. I am doing a special on them today, the 23rd, and tomorrow, the 24th. Only those 2 days. And I was going to just do it today, but by the time this video uploads, most of the day is going to be gone. And I don't think that's really fair to you guys. So it gives you an extra day. It's going to be 40% off. I almost never do that on my journals because they take a lot of time and a lot of effort to make, but they are 40% off today and tomorrow only. That link will be below. And the link will say themed custom journal, and it will have a list of a whole bunch of ones. So just write in the notes section, sewing. The coupon will only work on that listing. And if you type anything else besides sewing, it will still work, but I will still make you a sewing journal because if you're getting the 40% off, it is only for the sewing journal. So I added a little bit of lace. This is a 1917 embroidery plate right there. And then, well, it's a print of one. And then a little piece of ephemera from my ephemera pack, and I tucked in another piece of ephemera and a little tag with a sewn button, a little bit of stamping. Here's some eyelet trim and a little scrap of fabric. I did another fabric tab. This is from that same vintage sewing book, and I just ripped it out and glued it on as kind of a border. I did some stamping, and then these little vintage scissors are also from my ephemera pack. I just cut them out and added them. And then there's some cut apart, so very happy. Here's a little mini clothespin clipped on one of my ephemera. Just a little collage down there. And then here, there's a little wooden scissors. I hope these hold up. They are really fragile, and I've already broken 2 of them. So hopefully that lasts. But there's a couple little pieces. This tag is from Joanne Hall. You can follow her on Instagram at Joanne Hall. That's HOHL. But she is just starting to sell bits of ephemera and things, and I've been loving them. There's one of my words, embroidery. Here's another 1917 embroidery plate, and I just added some lace around that. There's a cut apart, Joanne also made this little tuck spot for me. I put it in here, and then here's another one of the sewing cards that I made, journal cards, and then there's a big pink textured tag. A little bit of messy stenciling, cut apart, lace. These are from Christy Art Design on Etsy. And I purchased these when I made my last sewing journal, and I wanted to put a couple in here. It's backed with copy dyed paper. More of the vintage French fabric scans, and I just added the word based. A little bit of fabric on here. More from the French fabric, it says dressmaker. There is a ephemera piece there, and the final journal card, there's little thread spools in the sewing machine there. Remember, these are free on my Facebook page. I just added this little vintage little mom and son there. Beautiful, beautiful girl. I love all the lace on her dress, so I added lace and a button. There's a little doily heart punch. Another one of Christy Art's tags, and then I took one of those vintage sewing pages and made a little envelope, and I put in some of my ephemera so she can use that. This is a vintage like die cut flower that I had. And so here in the middle between these two, I just glued on some fabric, added some vintage buttons that Barbara sent me. Thank you, Barbara. I've been loving the buttons you sent me. And then here's some stenciling, a little advertisement for Clark's thread, and that's in my ephemera kit. And then nothing makes me happier than a full bobbin. And then clipped on here, if you can see it, is actually a bobbin with some thread on it. You can take that off if it gets in the way, but there's an eyelet so it won't rip the paper. And this is part of my sewing words and phrases. More of the 1950s fabric paper. And then we come to the end. So I hope that you love this. It was so much fun to make. Please check out all the links below. I'll have the link where you can get the ephemera pack, the words and phrases, my Facebook link so you can get the freebies, and the link where you can get the 40% off of the sewing journals. So I can't wait to make some more for all of you. I hope you have a lovely day. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.